What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of StaleMates. We got a reoccurring guest here, a good friend of mine, the birthday guy himself, the founder of
Hey,
the Wrestling Room, Mr. Pat Mineo.
hey, Zach. Thanks for having me on again, man. Love the show. Love what you're doing.
Yeah,
Starting to blow up. It's good stuff, man. Great content.
yeah. Thanks to you, man. I think I don't even. You first like followed us like real early when I made that video. Most people, when you make a video about them, they see how many followers you have, and they just say, "Oh, I don't even care. That's just some guy." But you actually gave us some. You gave us some light and kind of put us in front of more people. And the next thing we made a meme, and then this past weekend it's been huge for us. So I got to thank you for all
Oh,
that.
of course, man. I love it. I love the show. Like I already told you, love the setup and what you've been doing. And happy to be back on, man. Keep up the great work. And it's awesome during this crazy time. I think it provides some much needed entertainment. Put it that
Yeah,
way.
yeah. I gotta say, I think we started like coincidentally at like the absolute perfect timing. Like
For sure. Just
especially
dove right in.
for what we're doing, like there's not a better time to start than right now. But uh,
Absolutely.
so Pat, everybody probably knows by now, especially if you saw the first episode that he was on. He's the founder of the Wrestling Room. Last time we did an interview with you, you were approaching 300. After the interview, you got 300. Now, what's the Wrestling Room at right now? How many members?
We're close to 4,000 now. Yeah.
Wow. Or wait, what
Close
was
to
this?
4,000.
3,000 last time?
Yeah, we were
Okay,
close to we were at
3,000.
3,000, just approaching it.
Yeah.
Twitter and Wrestling Room were each separately approaching 3,000. And now we're buzzing up. I mean, that was
Wow.
only 2 weeks ago. We're up near 4,000. People are flooding in, and it's awesome. Everyone wants some of that tea you were talking about in the last episode.
Do you think that the forum era is kind of coming back? I feel like the forum era has kind of translated over to the Twitter game because a lot of the Twitter people are
Yeah,
anonymous people, where that's kind of where the forum things were, that, it's anonymous accounts and not necessarily people's real names, which, by the way, I'm all for that. That is totally fine. I love it. The more people like jumping in and the conversations, the better. So,
yeah, we got.
do you feel like the forums are kind of switching to Twitter, or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, wrestling Twitter in particular lately has been insane. Like, it's been one thing after another. And I don't know if it's like this pandemic, everyone being home, no wrestling, everyone's getting the itch, everyone's getting antsy, but everyone is engaged on there. Guys that are, usually probably pretty busy, still training or coaching, but they have some time and they want to see what the tea is. And it seems like everyone is tweeting now, everyone's engaged in every
Yeah.
situation, and you're right. It's like the perfect timing because everyone's looking for some content and some hype and what's going on, what's the latest tea, and it's like boom, it's nonstop, man. Even though there's not much wrestling going on, we're seeing some traction for the sport, for better or worse. Depends how you look at it, but it's hype for sure.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. That kind of brings me to my next question here. Noticed since I've started been doing these videos, I see a lot of tweets and posts where some people are not a fan of the trash talk. I totally get it. Wrestling is a pretty traditional sport.
Mhm.
Do you think that it's good for the sport to see this kind of, not trash talk, but just, the friction going on? Are you kind of side with that? You think it's all right?
Yeah, I think there's like a fine line. I mean, maybe it's not such a fine line. Maybe it's a little like this, but there's a fine line. Some things, the hype and hyping up matchups and talking up the opponent. Um, that stuff definitely hypes up the sport. At a certain point, there are lines that can be crossed, but the more buzz they say, the better. Hopefully, even things that may have crossed the line or been negative that we've seen start conversations where we can talk about what's going on, with women's freestyle or Greco. And I mean, for someone like me, I follow all aspects of the sport, but someone else might not. And then this may trigger them to look deeper into it. So I guess there is a silver lining in some of that. But man, it does seem like there's more buzz for the sport lately. It really does, for better or worse. Like I said,
I think it works as long as it's authentic to who the person is, right? So you can't be a guy
absolutely.
like we saw after Conor McGregor blew up. He was all about the trash talk and he was super funny, and everybody say,
Yeah,
"Hey, it's working for him. I'm going to try it now." But if you're not actually that guy or girl, it's not going to work for you. And I think it's the
it's
same thing
not.
with you. You
Yeah,
like when we see Pat Downey's trash talk and it blew up, that's because that's who Pat Downey really is. He's been that
yeah,
way for the longest time, and that's why his stuff
absolutely.
kind of blows up and we pay attention to him.
Absolutely. He's been that dude out of Baltimore who's had that hard nosed personality from high school to college to international level. Throughout, he's been that guy. And as you've seen lately, like it's everyone's tuned in during this time. So sometimes you gotta watch and pull back a little bit, or else you might tiptoe over the line. And with today's world, sometimes there's no coming back, right?
Yeah, so I see you're repping the New Jersey RTC shirt, the New
Yeah,
Jersey
got
RTC
that
hat.
NJRCC.
Were you
It's
surprised?
Barbarian Apparel.
Barbarian Apparel?
Yeah, Barbarian Apparel makes it. Gotta always support the guys at NJRCT doing such a good job. Reese Humphrey, our freestyle coach of the year, has done such a good job. With Rutgers and Princeton involved, guys like Goodale, Dubuque, Ayers, they've done such a good job with making something bigger than New Jersey college wrestling was pretty much just Rider, Princeton, Rutgers on the D1 level, you see. And now with the training center there, it's bringing a little more buzz to New Jersey wrestling. You got guys coming in, creating some hype like Tyler Graff, and obviously Downey was there. You got Ash close by, so it's cool to see them grow something kind of organically. And Reese has done an awesome job, and Princeton, those guys, they're just great people to be around, great coaches. So definitely sky's the limit for NJRCT.
Were you surprised to see them drop Pat Downey after all the events unfolded, or was that kind of a
Uh,
no-brainer?
No, I was not surprised because, I've known Downey for a while. I've met him a few times at Final X. I even have pictures with him. He knows who I am. I know who he is. And I also know the guys at Princeton, like Dubuque and Ayers, and I know, Goodell and the guys, Humphrey I talked to. So I knew that there was a line that was being walked, and, I figured he crossed it. So, with NJRCT, you got to think you have Princeton involved. Chris Ayers' wife is a big advocate, runs a New Jersey girls wrestling group. His daughter, two-time NJ state champ, Fargo All-American, Chloe Ayers. New Jersey just started that girls state tournament a couple years ago. That's picking up. So to be an NJRCT guy and to speak about the women's programs like that, that's not a good match. That's not a good match for not only the media world and those listening, but for those who are kind of feeding you. You never want to bite the hand that feeds you. You know what I mean?
I feel you. So recently, the Big Ten announced that for the football season, they're only going to do Big Ten football games, so no non-conference games.
Yeah.
How happy are you that Rutgers is in the Big Ten for wrestling?
Oh
If
man.
it ends up happening for the wrestling too.
Yeah, that is going to be a crazy year. Like I said, Rutgers has made strides in the Big Ten. For football, not so much. They're getting crushed. Wrestling, they're recruiting classes. They're holding their own. I think with wrestling, the better the competition and the matchups for your guys, that only gets the team better and ready for March. So it's kind of exciting. A lot of tough matches if it's the Big Ten schedule only. A lot of tough matches, but it's going to be cool to see Rivera, Scarlet Knight again, and Alvarez, and it was a little disappointing not see some of the freshmen from Rutgers go last year when the tournament was canceled. So I'm stoked. Whatever happens with the season, as long as it happens, I'll be fine with it.
So last time that we interviewed you, I asked you about Sebastian Rivera. He was currently in the portal. Literally, the timing for this whole show has been awesome. The next day,
Great.
the next morning, he actually committed. Said he was going to go to Rutgers. Did you know
Mhm.
something that we didn't know?
Yeah, man. I think I kept moving the hat around or something. The Rutgers had to show, hey, he's going to Rutgers. Like I know I hinted at that in the interview, and that's been talked since last year's Big Ten. And obviously he had to enter the portal and do everything the right way, and get everything together. And I know a lot of other schools were interested in him. Who wouldn't be? In the Big Ten, a lot of other schools were trying to snipe him, but he wanted to come home to Jersey, and I think it's awesome. It's good hype. I wish we had him for 4 years, but can't blame him for getting that degree at Northwestern and then hitting grad school at Rutgers for the specific programs he's going for. So that worked out perfect to have him back. So if you can't have Suriano back, at least we got Seabass coming.
That's right. Do you think that Rutgers should file a cease and desist against a certain media company that has stolen his patented boom tweet?
Oh, yeah, I think that is pretty cheesy that they stole the boom. That's like Goody's thing. There's only one guy or one set of fans that can lay the boom. And yeah, it's like all of a sudden you got these flow guys dropping the boom. Come on, come up with something original. They'll ignore everything else, but they'll drop the boom. But they'll ignore the real booms going on around them. Boom.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like right now, and I'm not, whatever. I'm not gonna say anything, but I feel like they're the band on the Titanic ship, kind of sinking sometimes.
They are. They're playing. You got, who's left there? Bradkey playing the violin. You got Askren who's laid back in the lifeboat, and they're just throwing people off the ship. It's crazy, but they're just ignoring the chaos around them, which I don't know. That's an interesting angle for a business. I mean, you probably want to speak on it when you have so much happening, with Downey and then with Nomad. It's like, hey, you might want to comment on this, given that your company, how it, resonates in the wrestling community. It'd be cool to see them step up, but they're more of the type to brush to the side and continue doing their shows and not mentioning it, which is interesting.
I will tip their cap for them for still taking live questions every day. It's like
Unbelievable.
that's like
They're
okay.
taking questions. Most of the questions are like, tell me
I,
about what happened, know that. Or it's like they still ask for live questions, and 90% of them are like, do you realize there is fire around you? Like,
right.
no.
The house is burning. Speaking of houses burning, Stanford cut their wrestling program a couple weeks ago, leaving some real studs with no homes past
Oh
this
man.
coming year. Real Woods and Shane Griffith. Do you also have any inside scoop on where these guys are going to end up?
Yeah. So two incredible wrestlers who we were robbed from seeing in their freshman debuts in March. Those guys both had serious potential to do damage at NCAAs. We're talking like, both of them could have made the finals at NCAAs as freshmen last year. One of them or two of them could have won it. They're that talented. Griffith had the pleasure of watching in high school in New Jersey for Bergen Catholic. Just so consistent and a hammer, a humble kid. Real Woods is dynamic, and I think we're going to see Griffith. Once he enters the portal, we'll see. But I wouldn't be surprised if you see him at an Ivy League school. I'm hoping Princeton, but my senses say probably UPenn. I know he has some ties there, so probably look to see Griffith at UPenn. But I hope he's a Tiger. And then Real Woods, believe it or not, you might see him. I know him in Princeton. He might lean towards Princeton too. I've heard some things, but Real Woods, Princeton. I heard something about Arizona State and Michigan. I heard those are his top three, so we'll see. But hopefully he comes down to Jersey. I mean, could you imagine if they somehow landed Griffith and Real Woods at Princeton?
Yeah. So
Um,
one thing that people are asking about that is Ivy League schools usually don't deal with transfers.
yeah,
Have you had any comment or anybody talked about that at all?
Yeah, so it is rare. You rarely see transfers through into Ivy League schools. It's possible. It happens. It's rare for sports. It's obviously rare because of how Ivy League schools operate, right? It's a little different, their admissions process. But these guys are coming from Stanford, right? Hopefully, you would hope Stanford credits come over. It's not like they're coming over from some junior college or community college trying to get into Princeton. So I hope one of the two ends up at Princeton. I would say Griffith, UPenn, Real Woods. I mean, it's tough. If he sticks to the West Coast, ASU is loading up. That's another school where there's a lot of, a lot going on there that would entice someone like him maybe to stay closer and wrestle for Zeke and all those new guys there, Molinaro. So I know those are the potential landing spots. So we'll see what happens. Maybe they both go Ivy League, and we'll see them over on the East Coast.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't have a hat right next to you. Put on a Penn hat real quick and let
Yeah,
us know where he ends up going up. But the next thing I got to ask you, we saw the Rumble on the Rooftop, July 25th. Flows has their event going on. They both kind of have these like UFC card style events. Do you think
Yep.
that's kind of the direction that they should go if, we ever want like some professional league or an opportunity for more senior athletes? Do you think that's kind of what they should do? Or do you see it should be more of like, follow the college format where there's a big tournament at the end of the year?
Yeah, I like that, especially with what's going on now with the lack of wrestling we had. I can't knock them for putting together an event. Now, how they put it together and how they bring the names in, between what we saw with how they're paying our ladies, our world female freestyle medalists versus people who have never even won a match at Worlds. I mean, that is kind of like interesting. They should probably do more to grow those areas. If they covered it more, maybe more people would know about it, and you'd have that bigger draw that everyone's talking about. It's about the draw. I like the format. I like some of the matches a lot, but it's disparaging to see some of the women's wrestlers saying like, hey, I didn't feel like it was worth it. And some say, well, they should have just wrestled. Well, these girls, some of them are training for the Olympics. So, you have to make it worth it to risk it and go out there, risk injury, put it all out there. I mean, they deserve to be paid on that level. So, you see the women's UFC fighters getting paid up. That's a better comparison. Some people are saying, well, the WNBA and women's soccer league, they get paid this. It's like, well, compare the women's UFC. It's not a team sport necessarily. It's individuals. When you're winning world medals, they should be getting paid up too. So I like the event. I like what they have going on, but I do agree they should throw some more respect on some of those fierce women we have and on their name.
So since all these like, professional cards have been coming out and some of the pay numbers have been coming out, and there's like union talk, do you agree that wrestlers should have a union, or do you think that's something that has to come down the road since we're just kind of just getting started?
Yeah. So I think USA Wrestling and living the dream, like some of those funds that have come together to pay Olympic athletes for winning medals, world medals, that is awesome. That was a great start. Seeing our athletes when they win medals get paid up like that through those funds is awesome. I mean, a union would be cool too because at that level, man, it's tough. Like these at this point, we're seeing people all over at different RCTs and clubs and they're doing what they can to get funded so that they can train and focus on wrestling. It'd be cool to see something more concrete where kind of protecting the wrestlers and making sure that things across the board are getting done. If we want to grow the sport, then we kind of got to move it towards a more professional aspect. Even if we are an ancient Olympic sport, we need to kind of come to where the world is at with that and kind of make sure that every wrestler who's that good is kind of getting their due.
Do you think I've been pretty vocal that I'm a big folk style guy till I die? Do you
Yeah.
do you like if it's a professional? Do you think freestyles are out they should do, or you think folk style?
You know, I love folk, and it kind of sucks when folk ends like after college, right? They graduate college, and pretty much like that ends, and like the pinnacle is freestyle and the Olympics, and it would be cool to see, a folk league like that. It's tough to make it work because our best guys typically go into that Olympic freestyle, Greco, whatever it may be. So that may be tough to convince them to stay doing folk style if they're trying to win an Olympic medal, but I would love to see something like that for folk. I think we have enough fanship across the country for folk and hype where those matches are exciting. They're different than freestyle. I think it'd be cool to see more of that put together.
I put out a tweet earlier today saying I was gonna do like the troll Twitter accounts rankings. Just give me one. Who would be your number one seed?
Oh man, there is so many good trolls on there. I mean, a lot of fake profiles, but then there's these other profiles. They're not even fake. They're just they're themselves, but they troll everyone so hard. There's a group of dudes. I think they're like the TCOB
Yeah, what
dudes.
is that? What is that?
I don't know what that stands for. I think there's some affiliation with Duke, but those dudes are hilarious. They used to troll me hard, and I thought it was hilarious. And now they've kind of teamed up with me, and they're awesome. I think they love me now as well, given that they've seen kind of how I actually am versus listening to guys like Piles rant about me or whatever. But there's like a group, there's like a whole army of those dudes who just troll, and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
They're on point. So shout out to those dudes. TCOV. I know like there's a group of them, like a whole group of them. You know, you got Rhino, you got Pelican Head,
Pelican Head
you got
is my boy.
Christian, you got a ton of them. You know, they're just hilarious, and they pop up on it seems every post and just lay the troll down. And like I know Flo is getting irritated by them, which makes it even funnier.
Yeah. I mean, they're welcome here at StaleMates. We'll have anybody on. Maybe I can convince one of them to take the mask off and join me on a Zoom call at some point. But
Absolutely.
yeah, thanks for joining me today. I like to keep these pretty brief as always. We're gonna keep having you on, man. I really appreciate you coming on.
Of course, man. Anytime. Like I said, keep on covering that tea. It's been crazy, and you know I expect it to just never end. Based on what we saw, every time we think it's going to settle down, it spikes back up. You know, got to give props to NJRCT. I think they had done a lot for a guy like PD3, giving him multitude of chances, so no one can knock them. I know a lot of people are knocking them, but they literally gave the guy like 20 chances. So shout out to those guys for sticking it through. I mean, they helped this guy extend his career, and you know they're great coaches, great people, and you know everyone should respect them for what they did. Sometimes you gotta cut loose what's bad for business. You know what I mean?
I feel you. We'll end on that note. Shout out to the wrestling room. I got most of those screenshots from you guys. I was doing my best to try to get everything. You guys make it super easy. You guys cover almost everything. So without you guys, I probably wouldn't be able to do these timeline videos. Shout out to them. At StaleMates Show on Twitter, at StaleMates Show Instagram, stalematesshow@gmail.com. Pat, you're at Mr. Pat Mineo.
Mr. Pat Mineo, you know, the wrestling room, the link's in there on the Twitter.
Yep.
Growing exponentially. Come for some tea to see some funny stuff like that awesome Downey video you made from training day. Pelican Day. So good. So good. Yeah, man. So keep glowing up.
Thank you.
You know, the hype is good, and keep up the good work, man. You know, every show is getting better and better, it seems, and you know, things are going well. So keep it up, bro.
I appreciate that, man. We'll have you on again probably soon because every time something happens, we seem to bring you on. You always do
For sure,
numbers for
man. I love
us.
it.
We'll keep it rolling. Thanks for watching, everybody.